Mark, first of all, thank you for spending time on New Year's Eve. And this is, I was so excited to be asked to do this, and thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. All the cars looked absolutely fabulous. It was not an easy task to try and sort of judge which of these wonderful builds, and they are wonderful builds. First of all, you've got cars that, I mean, in the real world were very small. And then when you reduce them down to 1/32nd scale are really, really small. And to put the amount of detail that each person put in those cars was just phenomenal. So kudos to everyone who submitted to your proxy. They did a really, really wonderful job. And this was not an easy task. And I really had to take my time. But they're beautiful cars. I mean, they really, really are, and you should be proud of what you've done as far as organizing this is concerned.
Well, thank you, John. You know, I think I've said this before. I know I've written it at times. I consider myself to be a very lucky guy to have friends who are such avid model builders, and that, of course, includes you, a friend, you know, who I've gotten to know a lot better in the past year, who was also willing to be brave and not about incurring the wrath of anybody, but just in terms of, I knew this would be, as I opened up the boxes over the last month, you know, it's a challenge with Concours. I mean, these are really well-built cars. There's, although we set some standards about, put some guidelines about how, you know, the criteria that I'd like you to score them at the end of the day, it's still not the same as running heats where the stopwatch determines who was 4th and who was 14th. But I thought it was really, really important. And I feel really lucky that I've got you, because I wanted somebody who understands the hobby, who is an avid practitioner of the hobby, who really lives by, scale model car building for slot cars, who knows about open wheelers, who has an affinity for the period, in that period of the 60s and a bit beyond, of these cars, which is what the formula we chose, and knows about the history. You know, so it was like, I've got everything I need in terms of knowledge base. I just needed somebody to say, yeah, I'll do it for you. And I'm really thankful that you agreed to do it.
This was my pleasure, because as much as these cars are models, they actually perform.
Yes.
Like, that's the other thing that people should keep in mind as we go through this, is that, yes, they're beautiful to look at, but they really do go on a track and are meant to be raced.
That's right. Yeah. And I had the first race here. Let's see, what is today? It's New Year's Eve, so I guess it's Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
Race at the beginning of the week, and Christina and I did it over 2 days, because at my age, running heats, you know, I was like, enough's enough. I'm going to get bleary-eyed, even for the relatively short time you run. I want to try as be on top of my game as I run each car. So we got that done, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, they all ran. It was a real blast, and I was appreciative that you were willing to make adjustments in your schedule to do this now, because come the end of the holiday and the weekend, these cars will be all on their way via United Parcel Service to Indiana for round 2. The Concours actually counts as a scoring event in this series. It's the equivalent, when we total up the point total, converted into the same placings as we do for each race. So it's got the equivalent of 1 race worth of points. So in other words, we've got 6 races, and in effect, we've got 7 races, 6 on the track, and 1 the beauty and technical parade. And you were in charge of that. So without the people who are probably saying, Mark, would you just shut up and let John show the cars? They know the criteria we scored at, but just for a brief to those folks from your channel who won't be aware of that, there were 4 criteria that I asked you to judge them on. remind me if I forget one.
Okay.
Fidelity.
Fidelity, technical
Mhm.
execution,
Yeah, technical execution.
artistic impression,
Mhm.
and originality and creativity.
Creativity. Thank you.
No
Yeah.
problem.
Do this all, and each one would be scored minimum of 5 points, which meant fair, and a maximum of 10, which meant perfect.
Well, I can tell you that nobody hit the 5. Like,
Okay, so
they're all
yeah, I mean,
on the 5s.
yeah, I mean, so these are good cars. So and with that, I turn it back to you as we agreed. I'll let you talk about each car in whatever order. I'll hold up the cars. I've got them behind me.
Sure. Oh, fantastic. So well,
Here,
let me
yeah,
call
and
them
then go
up.
ahead.
Well,
Sorry.
I was going to rank order them from, I guess, the back of the grid to the front of the grid, if
That's fine.
correct. And honestly, the differential between back and front is very small.
Okay.
So again, I cannot overemphasize. Having built cars like this, I know what is involved, and I can't believe some of the work. Like it's really, really wonderful. They're works of art. It's kinetic art, and kudos to everybody. Just
Thank you.
awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you on behalf of my fellow builders. I think some of them experienced just the challenge of the 1.5 liter purities. They were just about the smallest, probably the smallest ever in the
Yeah.
Formula One in terms of the actual size. So you shrink that down to 1/32, and those wheelbases are short, and the tracks are narrow, and there isn't a lot of tolerance, in room.
And plus, you've got to fit a motor in there, the wires, the guy. Oh, I know, and the gears. Yeah. It's really quite an undertaking.
And visible suspension detailing, because it's all open car.
Yeah.
There's an open cockpit, which is a challenge in itself because the motor's running through in line to the extent like, how in the world am I going to replicate as much as I can, a driver in an open cockpit in that sort of space? Well, that's what I leave to my friends, and I think they came through. So,
all right, well, let's start. I guess we'll start at the back there, and it was actually number 16, the Lotus 18.
The low numbers, I'm sorry, number 16 is the car.
16. Yeah.
Okay. I actually know what a Lotus 18 looks like, so I better there. Hold on, let me get it. Okay.
I'm going to pivot to my sheet here. As
You
a
bet.
reference.
Okay. So you let me know, first of all, is that coming through on your side relatively?
Yeah.
I'll turn it whichever way you like.
Oh, looks good. And I mean, again, wonderful car. The thing I just can't get over is how there you go. I just it really, they all look as if they were shrunk down to 1/32 scale.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the way I looked at it was very hard to find something wrong.
Well, tell me what you liked.
No, exactly. Well, here's what I really, really liked about it. First of all, it's not a commercially available car. It's not like you can go to Scalextrics and buy it, right? I mean,
not as a kit. I mean, some of these bodies are available.
Yeah. But still, I mean, it takes some like the oh gosh, the detail around the windscreen, individual, rivets like that. I mean, for the rivet counters, you're literally counting the rivets.
That's right. That's right. The rivets are indeed there.
Are indeed there, absolutely. So, I mean, it was just, it's a very lovely car. The rear gearbox detail was there. And then to have Trevor Taylor in the car, I mean, again, just, it's wonderful to acknowledge a driver who had to, unfortunately, be Jim Clark's teammate. And it's a lovely, lovely car. And again, it was it was a very difficult judging process, but so that's the first.
Okay, so what's the grand total point number for this?
Oh,
and
yeah. It ended up being 28.
28. Okay. Yeah. This was a zippy little car, and it's as a 1961 car. You know, it had a narrower, you know, the actual model, of course, has a little narrower track. They're all on skinny wheels and skinny tires. But this one handled quite nicely. And I don't have the race results in front of me. In my memory is such that after 24 hours, it sort of finished in, I think, sort of a little, somewhere above the middle and towards the top third. It was a well-constructed and very smooth running car. The racers all know where they finished by now. It's already up on my forum. So, okay. So what did you say again? 28 points?
Yeah, 28 points, yeah.
All right, I'll put that back. Okay, what's next?
All right, next is number 10 Cooper T58.
Okay. Let's see, here we go.
And just to show you how close the scoring is, this scored at 29.
A 29, okay, 1 point different, okay.
You know, it's, I actually had to go to like half points in the categories.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it was just,
Okay.
honestly, I can't overemphasize how lovely these cars are. So, you know, I know it was, I think it was based on the Skeletric's body, but the amount
Started
of work,
out that way. Yeah.
right? But the amount of work that was done on the rear of the car to make it, you know, authentic, lovely, lovely work, and the suspension detail, lovely, and a full steering wheel. Even though, you know, you can see the can of the motor is kind of where but to put a full steering wheel in with the dashboard, lovely, lovely work, and kudos to the builder.
Well,
The other thing that I noticed, and my wife noticed this, and so I'm looking at them. She goes, "What's that little thing on the outside?" I said, "Sweetheart, that's the transistor box." She went,
oh, yeah.
Right.
There
And she
it
went,
is.
"They put that on there?" And I thought, wow. And I just take it for granted. Like, of course you put it on there. Yeah. And then my wife went, "Wow, that's really quite something." And I went, "You know what? That really is quite something."
One thing I noticed about this car was when it was built, the adaptation, and I guess I should know whether that's an oil line or I think it's a water line.
It's a water line from the front.
Water
Yes,
line. But not only is the water line there, which was added, but the actual, I guess I'll call clamps or the bands, hand built to hold them in place. You know, that level of detailing. Oops, I better get it up in front of the camera. There we go. But you see that.
Also the angle of the pipes.
And the angle, the fact it's not just a straight piece of plastic, you know, it's been bent and shaped and all formed in there.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's lovely. It's not exactly, it wasn't just, if you pardon my this term, it wasn't slapped on.
Was not slapped on, that is correct. Yeah. Okay, so the Cooper T58, Charles's car, and I forgot to mention, but then this is the benefit for your viewers on the channel who are not part of the race. Andy built the Lotus 18. Charles built this car, and 29 points, I think you said?
Yes, 29, yeah.
Okay. All righty.
It just shows you how close things are here.
Mm-hmm.
The next car was the number 3 Ferrari, the 156 Aero, number 3.
Okay. Here we go.
And again, gee, rank order. This one was 30 points.
30 points. Okay. Yeah, I get it. No, I totally get it.
It's just wonderful. I mean, again, everything from, it looks like Mr. Surtees helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that. Is this the one with the brown band on the top?
I think it's blue. Well, the helmet's been weathered. So,
well, but this is what I noticed, that I just went, wow. I went and looked at some pictures of Mr. Surtees driving that car. A lot of black and white photos, but the color photos I found, my goodness, his strap, it was usually a blue stripe, but in this car it appears to be brown, which I think that's the builder that caught it, and I went, oh my goodness, that's.
I don't have my reading glasses on, so for me right now, it's looking blue. Of course,
okay, if it was blue, but because there were pictures with both, because we had a couple of Aeros, and one had the blue stripes, which was basically he just put tape on his helmet, And then I think previous to that, he actually had like a brown piece of tape.
Yeah.
But and again, the suspension detail,
Yeah.
the exhausts, lovely, lovely, lovely work. And to think that, I mean, you can't see the crown gear.
Nope. The rules said the crown gear could not be visible from the top,
Right.
but to be able to also not show it in any way from the back is a real.
That's a feat.
And of course, that transmission has been handcrafted on the gearbox.
Yeah.
I agree. Those tailpipes are just perfect.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a lovely, lovely car.
Yeah.
And now, how did that one run?
This one, oh, well, thank you for asking. This one actually won the first race. This Ferrari Aero was so smooth, so easy to drive. That's always a good thing when you're talking about my driving skills. But it was fast, quick, forgiving, no vices. We'll see how it runs on a routed track, but on my Ninko track, I mean, and there was a close. It edged out the second. This car finished first. This was the winner of the first race. This Aero, yeah, Andy's.
Wow. Yeah, it's beautiful.
You know what I don't know? Actually, I'm curious about this. Of course, when I see it showing to me, do the numbers come out reversed when you put it out? I mean, do you see a backwards 3?
No. That's only as you're viewing it on your screen.
That's only on my screen.
Yeah,
good.
You get a mirror image of what you're looking at.
Oh, that's good. So, that's really good. Folks aren't seeing, like, why did all these people put the numerals on reverse? Okay, because I'm looking at it and going, I kind of thought so, since the part on what's left of my hair is on the wrong side of my head. So, okay, good. Yeah.
No, lovely, lovely car. Lovely car. Okay. And again, you're going to laugh. The next one, which is the.
Hold on. Did you say this was 30 points then?
Yes, it was. Yes. 30,
okay.
30.
That's what a lot of my guys are going to be. What's the point number? Okay.
Well, again, you know what? Even when I post this, I will put the rank order in the description.
You bet.
No problem.
You bet. Okay, good.
And with just the totals. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
The next one is the number 3 Lotus 25, driven by Jack Brabham.
Okay. Yeah. Because we have 2 of those.
Yes.
We have 2 Lotus 25s, and good point. As we know, the story behind this one is Jack's Brabham blew an engine that year, and he only had one BT7 available for Dan Gurney. So Colin Chapman lent him a Lotus 25 to drive the Monaco Grand Prix. Yeah. Okay, you take it from there.
Oh, no problem. So the number of points, 31.
30, okay, that's all right. 31, yeah.
But again, first of all, just from the subject matter, to take a car that most people aren't even aware that Jack Brabham drove a Lotus, I think is just brilliant. And the suspension detail, again, lovely, lovely, lovely stuff. The pipes in the back, that gearbox, again, looks like it was handmade.
It was.
And those are things that just have to be acknowledged. As a builder, you should be so proud of that car.
I will mention on this one that I think, as I look at it, and I sort of discovered this during the qualification when I was doing setup for the order of racing, that the rear axles on this car actually look scale-wise to be exactly right, because they are a smaller diameter than the standard 332nd that we use mostly for, So it is a slightly thinner axle. Therefore, there's a little sleeve that goes around it that's holding it into the wheel. Now, that means aesthetically it looks great, but from a pressure standpoint, accidents can happen. And while I was qualifying this thing, all of a sudden, the right rear wheel went flying off and the grub screw went who knows where. So we got it readjusted, but I think there's a reason that people use 332nd inch axles. This one, however, though, I'll bet the size of that, if you look at it, is just right.
Geez, I didn't even notice that, but
I didn't either until the wheel flew off.
Now, when you got the wheel back on, how did it perform on the track?
because in the first heat, when I had to run it later, after halfway through the first heat, they did the same thing. I had to be a little more gingerly with this. So it was down in the lower third, the bottom third of the results. And I think that wasn't because of the balance of the car or the speed. It's just that that rear wheel connection's a little tenuous. A grub screw going into a stainless steel sleeve on top of a steel
Yeah.
axle. I'm notorious for not being really great about the physics of slot cars, but I did check with some people and they said, yeah, that's the issue. So there you go. Okay, so this one was, did you say 31 points?
31 points, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And if I start swinging these cars around too much, tell me to.
No, you're doing great. And don't forget, we've got photos that we'll show as well as you're doing that. It'll be just brilliant.
Okay.
Now, again, to show you the type, I was not exaggerating when I said these cars were just so close. The next car is actually number 24 Ferrari 156, the 63.
24, yeah.
Right.
Okay. Here we go. Okay.
Now, just to show you how I was really trying to be, it's fair and honest and to try and differentiate, this car had 31.5 points.
Okay. Okay. 31.5.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
I again, you look at the inlet from the inlet trumpets to the suspension detail. Again, the gearbox getting, it's sort of within the housing of the car, which is what the Aero was all about. And there's no protrusion of gears. It looks like a 1/32 scale model.
Yep.
It's lovely. And also the other thing I didn't mention with the other Aeros was getting the right inserts for the right car.
Yep.
That's really cool.
These builders do their research.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And speaking of that, well, actually, it'll be coming up. The other Lotus 25 that's in the group, people you would know this. You say, oh, geez, the wheels are mismatched.
Nope.
No, they're not.
No, that was the number 20 Jim Clark.
But that's the level of detail that my friends do when they're looking. So no, they know that they're going to they want to make wheels look like what, later on, a year later, Ferrari had got the traditional 5-spoke. But in 1963, that's what the wheels looked like on that car.
Well, again, you could take any one of these cars and Photoshop it to a background of where it was actually racing, and it would fit. Yeah. So it's like, now, how did that one perform?
This one was in the top third. This thing is dynamite. This thing is a better car than my driving skills. So I think it's going to really shine on the larger, faster routed tracks. But my Ninko track is a little bit futzy. So it couldn't perform, even though it got good acceleration and stuff. I was having to brake more, and this thing will haul. So very nicely done. This is Sherman's car. Did I mention, let's see, Andy had the Ferrari Aero number 3. I'm trying to remember. Was that the one just before this?
The one before this was actually the number 3 Lotus 25, Jack Brabham.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Getting all out of order. Well, they know who they are. That is Max's car. The Ferrari Aero is Andy's car. And this is one of Sherman's cars. Okay. 31 point what?
31.5.
5. Okay. And the next one will be half.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm again,
okay.
you all these folks made my job really challenging, and
Sure.
I enjoyed every minute of it.
As long as you had fun.
Oh, I loved it. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to spend time looking at wonderfully built 1.5 liter Grand Prix cars. Yeah, sure. That's a real tragedy. So the next one is actually number 32, the BRP.
Okay. Well, just so I don't forget, Sherman had two cars in the race, and now they're back to back. I just showed you his Ferrari, and this is his BRP in, I think it's exquisitely finished, but I have to say that's probably one of the less, in my own aesthetic judgment, less appealing shades of British green.
Well, yeah, but it's absolutely correct
It's
for
spot
the
on.
car.
Yeah, it's spot on. It's spot on. Trying to get it so it doesn't reflect too much off
Well,
of
that's
this.
okay. We've got images that you've
Yeah.
sent. No problem.
Okay.
The other thing too is getting, the pipes correct out of.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was lovely. And again, the gearbox. Look at the gearbox.
Yeah.
Like professionals, professional stock car makers can't do that.
No. Yeah, I agree with you, John. The gearboxes that were crafted by these guys are better than what you get in the RTR cars.
Yep.
No question.
No question about it. And you know what? It's just the other thing too is, and all of these cars had the same, the rear suspension with the arms coming out of the body,
Mhm.
and the attitude of the suspension.
Mhm.
Like they're active, they're not passive. They
Mhm.
look as if they
There you
should
go.
be going around the track. It's
Mhm.
lovely.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, just
Okay.
wonderful.
All right. 32 had 32 or 32.4?
No, 32, 32.
32 had 32. Okay.
Yeah, 32 had 32.
Okay.
You ready for the next one?
I'm ready.
Okay. It's actually the number 2 BRM P61.
Okay.
There it is. Oh, yeah. Oh, like the sculpting in the back with the vents, the correct shape, lovely. The of course using the Dunlop wheels, the front and rear suspension details, absolutely lovely. It's just a wonderful, wonderful little car.
Okay. I'm not going to say too much about this one since I know I'm way too close to the builder. So, okay. This one had what? Points.
32.5.
Of course, 32.5 for the BRM P61.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. All right.
Now a wee bit of a jump. We go to the number 20 Lotus 25, driven by Jim Clark.
All right. Yeah, this is the other Lotus 25. Here we go. This is from the, to think about this, it still has the carburetors. It's the 62 British Grand Prix, which in my mind was a really interesting livery. This happened, as you know, at times. They'd stick a roundel on and then decide maybe and then so you got a combination of roundels and then contrasting numbers. But I can assure you, as you know, none of that is a mistake.
No, and this is what people, again, I don't know if anyone really has the appreciation for how in the 1960s, Formula One was closer to club racing than club racing is now to club racing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like, guys would come up and say, no, you can't put your numbers on the cowl. We got to have it on the side of the car.
Right.
Yeah, and I know it's just, but the screen, oh my goodness, like just wonderful car, full driver figure, the interior with the Lotus logo on the steering wheel. Absolutely lovely. Oh, and it looks as if that front end should be steering. I know it doesn't, but the way it looks like it could steer. It's beautiful.
Great. This is Bob's car, and I would just like to add to this in terms of knocking one's socks off. I know all of the entrants. I haven't met all of them in person. I did meet Bob last year, or early this year. This is the first open wheel F1 scratch built car he's ever done.
No.
Yeah, so that's where he's starting from. Look at that.
Okay, well that's one heck of a mic drop.
Yeah, that's a mic drop. I mean, all of these, but I sure know what my first one looked like. And it wasn't even close. Yeah, they really took seriously the rules about replicating suspension as accurately as possible.
Even the cowl height in the back, which looks,
Mhm.
that is actually correct for that car.
Yep, yep. You get the anti-roll bar and the proper positioning, and
Yeah.
it all looks like it works and goes.
Yes, I'm serious. That front, I honestly thought, I had to look at the front and I thought, did he make that to steer? Because it looks like it could steer. And then I saw the tube, the axle going through, and I went, oh my goodness, that looks good.
Well, let's not give him ideas, because that'll probably be his next year. Okay, so this is Bob's, which came. Okay, and so what was the was my BRM the one just before this?
Yes,
The
it
number
was the
two
number 2 BRM
was,
P61.
yeah, and that was what?
That was 32.5 points.
Okay, so this is 30.
33 and a half.
Oh my goodness, we got a whole full point.
A full point, yeah.
We're getting into, okay, 33 and a half. All right.
Yeah.
Now we have, I'm just looking over here, 2, 4. There are 6 cars left. Okay. All right. I'm ready.
You ready? Okay, so the next one.
Well, actually, drum roll when we get to the podium. Okay.
Okay. The next one is the number 8 Ferrari 156.
Okay.
The 1962.
Yep.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh! Like, look at
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely lovely, and that has 34 points.
Okay. Yeah. We were talking about wheels.
Yeah.
And each of these Ferraris has different wheels because they were indeed different. Between 62, Ferrari was it Baroni, the wire?
Yep.
They were still using the wire wheels. 63 was a transition year, and then and then 64, which we don't have in this, but 64 they moved to the 5-spoke. But yeah.
But the engine detail on that car,
yeah,
is absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and in addition to the suspension, the gearbox, the trumpets, the full driver figure, I mean, even the the Ferrari badges are the right size, because it's really easy to put an oversized badge on a car of that era, and the actual shields were really quite small.
Yeah. Yeah. This is one of David's cars, David Mitchum's, and his ability to get spark plug wires in on this small, tight a space is nothing short of
Miraculous.
And you can see Ferrari it did have, of course, independent suspension all around, but it was it wasn't the Lotus type. It was still a different construct, which is tougher to replicate in scale.
It is. Now, how did that car drive?
This car, let me think about this one. This car was on the top 3 in the first heat, and I think it finished in the top 3rd, if not the top quarter. This car's got a lot of speed. It's perfectly balanced. It's a very well-driven car. And this was, trying to remember now, this would have been Willie Marazzi. Wild Willie drove this car. This one also, this particular prototype only appeared in 2 races near the end of the 62 season. So needless to say, it's never been a car that's been commercially built. The body was entirely hand built by the builder, by David. So
no, it's just lovely, and as they all are. As I said, this was a real challenging exercise.
Okay, and so this one is what?
34 points.
34 points. Okay. All right, we have got 4 left.
Okay, so we have the next one is the number 19 Lola Mark IV.
Okay. The number 19 Lola Mark IV.
Now,
Yes.
technically, now because we have a tie for second and for first place, technically this is in third.
Oh, okay. So this one's going to tie with the next.
No. This is on its own, and then we have 2 cars at second and 2 cars at first.
I got you. So this is 4. I mean, I think, well, whatever. I got it. There are 3 cars ahead of it, so this is 4.
But there are actually 4 cars ahead of it that are all tied. So there are 2 cars tied for second place, 2 cars tied for first. So technically, I would call this third place.
Yeah. Well, you've got to remember, I was a banker all my life, so I am really good at getting numbers wrong. Okay. You understand now. You know why we had a financial crisis.
Sorry.
Okay, but enough of that.
I was a marketer, so I was really good at fudging numbers that you couldn't.
All right. So let's start with it. This is Mark Tyler's car of the men's miniatures.
Oh, okay. So now
And he hand built this. So let's start with, what's the point total? Let's start with that.
Point total is just shows you how close it was. 35.5.
35.5. It's a Lola Mark IV. It's got Mr. Surtees driving. It's got Mr. Surtees actually made by Mark Tyler's Immense Miniatures company. Okay, so take it away.
So what I was going to say is, first of all, I think that's the most accurate Lola Mark IV I have ever seen.
I would agree with you, because even though there are a couple out there,
they're not. No, they're not. That is.
Mark,
look at the photos. That is the car.
Yeah, look for this one to be, I hope, on the market someday. You know, I hope.
You know what? I honestly hope so too, because the body is just bang on. Especially the way, and again, from the photograph, the way the nose tapers. That's because Lola was all about reducing the frontal area to try and get the car to go fast.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is the car. The pipes are great. I mean, again, everybody was doing, wonderful rivets around the windshield, suspension detail, the gearbox in the rear. Of course, the driver is, immense.
Yeah. Mark's an artist and a craftsman. And so I went right to the source in terms of, if I'm going to buy his figures, I'm going to bug him for lessons about how to paint them. But I still haven't gotten as good. There's no way, I mean, if this thing, this probably doesn't show it on Zoom, but I hope the quality of some of my stills did.
Your photos were lovely. That's why. The other thing I really loved about it, the driver is kinetic. He's
okay.
Look at the way he lilts.
You're right. He's got a real feel like he's racing that car.
He's driving the car.
He's driving that car.
It's not just a mannequin. It's kinetic, which is lovely. Yeah, no, so that's just a wonderful, lovely car.
Okay, and what have we got for points?
35.5.
35.5.
Right.
Okay, so I guess you said now there are ties in here, so this effectively is the podium. All right.
So we have a tie for second place.
Tie for first and a tie for second.
Correct.
All right. Okay.
So the tie. Do you want me? I'm going to give you both cars for second place.
Okay.
Number 21, the ENB Maserati.
Okay.
And number 18, the BRM P58.
Okay. Okay, the challenge is, can I hold up 2 cars to get 2?
Sure. Oh, yeah, no, it's perfect. Yeah, bring them. Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Okay, going. This David Mitchum's BRM, John Prince, both from England, David and John Prince's ENB Maserati. Let's see, there we go.
Oh, I mean, first of all, put up your hand if you've ever heard of the ENB Maserati.
Well, yes, but I agree with you. Yes. Yeah.
And secondly, the stack pipes on that BRM are bang on.
Yeah.
Right? Because the way that they're on the real car, they weren't perfect. So both of those cars have captured the actual cars. I mean, and then from a subject matter perspective, the ENB, I mean, obviously made completely from scratch.
Yeah.
So
as is this one actually, this one, the body completely. You
Right.
know, because this one, everything, I mean, when I say everything, wheels, tires, inserts, this one, chassis and body, because while the successor car of this, the P578, was the world champion car in 62, a
Right.
lot of slot car companies built this one. Nobody built this one. Nobody ever heard, as you know, nobody's ever heard of this one. So these are pretty rare cars in many respects.
And
Both
then to choose them as subjects to model, and not only choose them as subjects to model, but model them with that level of attention to detail is spectacular.
okay. So so these two tied for second
Yeah, with 36 points.
36 points. Okay. Well, I guess by process of elimination, if you said they were 25 and 8 are left,
Yep,
have we got it right? Did we do
you
it?
got it right. Those are the tied for number one.
Tied for number one. All right.
Just, oh my good. First of all, I mean, those cars are just spectacular. I mean, you know, as far as the Lotus 24 is concerned, the number 25, I mean, to get, you know, brake lines, the detail on the side of the engine with the plumbing all proper, to have Siffert's car driven to Monaco with the short nose. Oh, just absolutely lovely. And then the number 8 Lotus with the body panels off, just exactly as it was driven. And then to model the interior so you can actually, it's not a printed card, that's the actual figure in the car that you can see with the proper, you know, tape downs that Colin Chapman probably put on himself. Those are two spectacular cars. Spectacular.
This is David Mitchum's. This car was second in the first race. It just, I made some points about that the race marshal afterwards had to check this car for all-wheel drive since I couldn't do anything to get it off the track. I mean, it had no magnet either. I mean, it just really, this car not only looks great, it runs beautifully. We'll see how it does on a bigger track, but it was just wonderful. And so that finished just a little behind Andy's number 3 Aero Ferrari. So we had 2 red cars, Andy's Aero, number 3 and first, just edging out by a few lengths, David M's Lotus 24. He built this body. You know, there are some old Lotus 24s out on the market, vintage kits, but he did this all himself. And yeah, I'm always appreciative when people nail cockpit details. And
oh gosh, yeah, with the steering.
I've never seen a better Joe Seifert helmet in my life.
Well, again, and to your point, there's the driver's dynamic. If you look, he's not looking straight. He's active.
He's driving the car.
Yep.
Yeah. And I hope people will know this wasn't prearranged. This one's mine.
Oh, is that yours?
This one's mine. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Geez.
And I will only say this. Part of the thing that governed my decision to use the formula being the early 60s car is I started this car 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
With the idea of building a car, trying to build a slot car with literally an open frame, because I saw pictures of it at the real car at the 62 French Grand Prix, 61 French Grand Prix,
yeah,
with the open sides. And I thought, boy, that'll be tough.
Well, the only other car you could do that to would be the other Lotus that Sterling Moss drove at Monaco.
That is correct. And that one was actually I'd seen those. It's very famous because he won the race. This car actually, Jim Clark drove it to a 3rd place finish, but you know, really people don't know about it that much. I mean, the Lotus 18 was so out of date by then, and Moss heroically drove it and held off the Ferraris. And then later on in the season, Ireland and Clark were driving cars just like this, a little bit newer car, the 21. But I was intrigued to try and build it with that, not only open, but mismatched.
But if you look at the pictures, that's exactly the way it was.
Right, yeah. So
now how did the car perform?
This car, the thing about this one is, like, you know, sometimes when you make sacrifices for model making, it's not so great for racing. And this one is the only car in the field with the little solar botics motor. So although it revs pretty well, it doesn't have much torque or brakes. So this car, even on my small track, couldn't keep up with the FF050 cars. So this was in the, I think, let's see, I think it finished around 10th or 11th. You know, it was okay, but and of course, I don't expect great things from it on the big routed track. It doesn't have the high speed. You know, it handles well. I will say that. It handles real well. It just isn't very fast.
which honestly, that was the era of those cars.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you know, that's one of the things you're building for me, building by myself, you know, and I'm testing them on a plastic track, my plastic track. And I go, well, this is running pretty well, but I'm comparing it against other cars I've built. And then we do the proxy series, and in come these other cars. And so, for example, when I put Andy's number 3 Ferrari on the track for time test, or David's number 25, I said, okay, that's all she wrote. You know, I could just see it. You know, you could literally, you didn't have to even have a timer. You could just tell the difference. You know, I said, but my goal, and I think we've achieved it, is I really wanted to have a field of really well done model cars that could race. And I think the guys did a superb job on that. And I really thank you for helping out in this whole endeavor. I don't remember if you said, what's the point total for these two?
Oh, those two, I'm so sorry. They're 38.
38s. Wow. Okay. So you will send me something so that I can actually jot these down.
Oh,
but yeah. I'm going to I will announce the results on my forum, after I get your email. The details are going to be dependent on when you put our little chat and discussion
it'll go
on your wonderful channel. So by the way, just in terms of your wonderful channel and building true scale slot cars, race cars, model racing cars, and I'm sure this doesn't come as news to anybody who follows your channel, but that 356 you've got in the works that you've had a number of episodes on is just amazing, John.
Oh, thank you. It's funny because one of the things I know I have to do is I have to hand paint numbers on the side. And it kind of breaks my heart a little bit, but that's the way they were raced. Guys would drive them to their, and one of the things I was thinking about was doing James Dean's 356. Mm-hmm. And what I don't know if a lot of people realize that his last race was, I think, at Santa Barbara in that car, and he blew a piston, and he had number 33. And I've got pictures of him racing the car. There's a little bit of home movies that I found of him racing it, and then putting on a transporter. And that's the car that he traded in to get his 550 Spider. And that race was in May. He was forbidden to drive racing cars while he was shooting Giant over the summer. Received the car, I think, late August, early September, and then had his incident.
Road accident, yeah.
Right. And but I mean, yeah, so I most people modeled the 23, which he actually won a race at, and I can't remember where I think it was Salinas or something.
Well, now you mentioned they would, I understand the hand painted numbers. Were they then imperfect, or were they?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well then, if you were to make them perfect, it wouldn't be fidelity.
It wouldn't. No, no, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I also tried. I didn't. I haven't shown photos of the front trunk open yet, but I actually tried to and did paint the rubber seal around the front too. So.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. I was watching Raptly and going, man, I wish my hand were that steady. Uh, you know, I actually find the car parts not too bad, but the thing I'm always trying to endeavor to do are the figures, the faces and stuff, and that can be a little tricky, So trying like, okay, I'm going to get that eye in, I mean, you make them, okay, wipe it off, start again.
But well, if that was your Lotus, the figure looked great.
Yeah, well, Mark Tyler tutored me a lot so that I could almost paint a Jim Clark. Well, no, that's too much to say. I could sort of paint a Jim Clark like he does. I follow the Tyler tutoring.
Right.
I don't quite bring it off. I mean, I'm going to have to see. There are a couple drivers in here that if you blow them up to 8x10, you'd almost swear it's a photo of, they're that well done. And I realize, okay, it's a resin driver head for Christ. It's not racing, but it kind of looks good, We're model makers,
Yeah, but to have a model that is equally wonderful on the shelf and on the track is just spectacular.
It's fun. It's really fun. It's been one, as our mutual friend said, one dumpster fire of a year, 2020. We both know who I'm talking about, who uses that phrase. But having this to do, to occupy some time was, and I'm sure you feel the same way about what you're doing in the hobby. It's a really good way to stay involved.
Well, and there again, it's an ill wind that doesn't blow some good.
Yeah. So, and in a different year, like maybe next year, when I won't have to deal with the perils of the U.S.-Canada border, you will certainly have an invitation to have an even more expanded role. I'm sorry I couldn't send the cars to you directly. I hope the gallery of photos.
Your photos were wonderful, and what I really appreciated was your attention to detail to take the photos not only from the same perspective, but it looked like the same time of day, like the lighting.
That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want different lighting to it. So they're all taken at the same time of day, right at the same time, tried to keep the same angle. And the quality of the photos is a result of the subject matter, not of the photographer. I mean, an iPhone does a pretty good job. But if you're taking pictures of nice models, they're going to be nice.
All I can say is, as spectacular as they looked in your photographs, I can't imagine how good they look in person.
That's what I've always said. The guys share their bills, as they're building them. Just why, for example, and I know this for a fact, your 356 looks incredible. I can't, I hope to see it in person someday. Let me just put it, because
what I'm thinking of doing actually is putting it on tour.
Oh wow! Well then, some point it needs to.
I'm absolutely serious because they've done that with stuffed animals and a few other hobby. I'm absolutely open to going. Let's do the tour the world. I mean, let's start with you in the United States and who else wants to see it, and let it go around the world. And all I ask is you take a picture of it and put it in the package and send it off to the next person.
Great idea. Boy, and gutsy too. But in terms of, depends how wide the world is in terms of sending stuff around. I've got, as you know, 2 cars that have gone into USPS limbo that were supposed to be here, and they disappeared somewhere between Chicago and Montana.
Right.
I'm heartbroken about that.
But on the flip side, they've lost real cars that way.
I know. Yeah, well, don't tell that to Taffy, okay? Because it's not, because I want those cars to resurface.
And you know what? They probably will.
They will.
Yeah.
At some point, they'll resurface.
Yeah.
And I'll either get them and they'll go in time, or maybe one day they'll be at Taffy's doorstep in Germany. I don't know, but.
Well, that's it. They could return back. Yeah, absolutely.
They could. Yeah.
Mark, all I can say is kudos to you for organizing this. It's just such a wonderful event.
Well, thank you. And thanks for agreeing to be judge. And thanks for agreeing to feature this on your channel. I'm really grateful. If you could just do a recap, and just run through car number, car type, and points that it got from.
We'll do it. Let's do it. We'll do it right now.
Okay.
So
I'm not going to hold them up. I'll just let you.
Yeah. Okay. So number 16, Lotus 18, with 28 points.
Okay.
Number 10, Cooper T58, with 29 points.
Okay.
You see where this is going. Number 3, Ferrari Aero 156 Aero, with 30 points.
Okay.
We have the number 3 Lotus 25, driven by Jack Brabham, and that had 31 points. The number 24 Ferrari 156 had 31.5 points. The number 32 BRP with 32 points. Can't get any closer than this.
Right.
The number 2 BRM P61 had 32. Yes, sorry, I beg your pardon. 32 points. That's correct. 32.5. I beg your pardon. The number 20 Lotus 25, driven by Jim Clark, had 33.5. The number 8 Ferrari 156-62 had 34 points. The number 19 Lola Mark IV, and this was in third place because we had ties for second and ties for first. So technically, the number 3 on the podium was the number 19 Lola Mark IV, and it had 35.5 points. The ENB Maserati, number 21, and the number 18 BRM P48, both tied for second with 36 points. And the number 25 Lotus 24 and the number 8 Lotus 21, both tied for first place with 38 points.
Okay.
So there we go. And I'll send you the details of how I painstakingly came to these figures. And you can feel free to do with it as you wish.
Thanks again, John. You're a real hero. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Cheers. A healthy and happy.
I think I've got, here we go.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
A healthy and happy 2020 with you.
We will spare the YouTube world and not sing Old Lang Syne together. Click. Cheers.
Cheers. All the best. Thanks again.
I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, please leave a comment, like, and subscribe.